You are now tuned in to the Dads Who Lift podcast. Please give us a like, share, subscribe to the YouTube account. We are on www.dadswholiftofficial.com. All the podcast links are in there. We also have an apparel line. We're on IG as Dads Who Lift Official handle. We're on Facebook, Dads Who Lift Podcast. We also have a Dads Who Lift fitness group on Facebook that's Dads Who Lift Official, a group of 30,000 like-minded dads that are just trying to be their best selves and staying fit. If that's something you're into, please check it out. But we do this stuff for free, guys, so please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We really appreciate your support. You are now tuned into the Dads Who Lift podcast. You have your host, Tyler Gaeta.
Co-host Joel Staley.
So,
my camera's gone. I'm used to looking at
right.
this
now you
camera.
gotta look there. We're short one camera. We have one camera break.
Let's just look at Arnie up there.
Yeah, this shoot. So short one, but we're gonna make it work. So we're gonna try to recreate a great topic. We actually had a podcast that we shot a couple weeks back, and we had a system malfunction with the podcast, so we ended up having to scratch it all. We couldn't use it. And so we're going to kind of recreate it to the best of our ability, but probably add in some new aspects and make it a little bit more relevant. But I wanted to start off with talking about a trip that I had a few weeks back with my son. We took a little father-son trip to Colorado. And, man, it was time that we needed together. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a long summer. We got the COVID shit that's going on. You know, everyone was locked down. Then it's like, you know, you couldn't leave the country for a long time. Now you can leave the country, but I don't even want to leave the country because, you know, with just how fucking frugal everything is, like, leave the country and some shit happens, I get trapped in Mexico. Like, That would fucking suck. Or I leave the country and I get COVID in Mexico and then, like, I can't come back, or I have to quarantine for 2 weeks before I can come back, or have to fly back from, like, the U.S. Embassy. That would suck. Bad. Yeah. So I had 2 trips out of the country canceled this summer from COVID. It's just been a busy fucking summer, man. Like, work's been crazy. He's in football. Everything's been crazy. So we needed some time apart. So we took a little trip to Colorado. Turned out to be a great experience, man. Great father-son trip. But we ended up, I wanted to talk about the Manitou Springs Incline. So we ended up doing these, it's called the Incline. I don't know if you're not familiar with it. It's in Colorado, and it's basically steps up this mountain, right? And they're not fucking like real steps. They're like boards in the mountain with like sand top. And some of them are like, you know, they're not straight. I mean, it's pretty fucking sketchy, but it's cool as shit. And it's like a mile straight up this mountain. So it's a lot of fucking steps. Like, the fastest anybody's ever done it, I think, is like 20 something minutes or something like that up. And so I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. You know, we did bring like camel packs, water bags, you know, but all I brought for food was like 2 packs of peanuts. And I'm thinking like, fastest 20 minutes. We'll probably get up there in maybe 30 or 45 minutes and, you know, be down and like, you know, maybe round trip will be like an hour and a half or something, you know? And so we start going up this mountain, and some of these steps are like, you know, it varies. So some of these steps are normal steps, you know, some of them are long steps. Then like when you get up to the really steep parts, it's almost like climbing a ladder. Like the steps are like 6 inches wide. It's just really fun. And you're up in the mountains, so you can't breathe. Anyways, we get going. My son's a rock star. He's killing it, but like, this is fucking hard. And even he's killing it, but he was struggling too. You get that high in elevation. Like I said, you can't breathe. It's hard, you know? And so, we're going up this mountain, and, you know, there's like a little cop out, like, bitch. There's like a little area that you can take and go down if you want, like halfway up. And I'm struggling by halfway, but I'm
How long has it taken you to get to the halfway mark?
So I think it took us an hour and a half to get up to the top. Then we had a half hour at the top messing around, and then it took basically an hour to get down. So it was like 3 hours altogether. So I was probably like, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes or
45
something.
45 minutes is just climbing stairs.
Yeah, straight stairs, man. And I mean, it's cool. It's a great view. But there was no way I was going to bitch out. I was like, all right, no, we're going to make it. And so there's like this false fucking peak, right? So you get to this spot where you can't see any more steps in front of you, and you think that it's the top. And so I'm like, nah, it's, and like from that bailout point, you can see this false peak. And I'm like, nah, it's not that much further. We're going to make it. So we get to this false peak, and then like you go over this false peak, and then there's like another fucking eternity of stairs. You're like, oh my fucking God, you got to be kidding me.
Let's see if we can drop a picture over here.
Yeah, we should. But so so I'm going up these steps. So there's a couple things I learned that I want to go over, right? So I guess first of all, I tried like everything. This is an hour and a half of going up steps. So the way that I usually handle things in life is like I just run full force at them and I just tackle it, right? Like I'm just going to go. I'm going to go get it. That's just who I am. So I tried that at first, got exhausted. So then we're like taking breaks. And there's other people that we're walking up with, and they're right there with us. Everyone's joking about how crazy it is. And, you know, so there's people that like you're with the whole way up, like bantering with, that are kind of in your same, you know, realm, and they'll pass you for a little bit and then you'll pass them for a little bit. They'll be resting. And so it's like, it's constant going back. So I kind of like got this battle in my mind, like, all right, this guy can't get that far ahead of me. Like I got to stick with this guy, and like kind of challenging myself. So I tried running straight at it. Then I got tired and I'd have to take too many breaks. So then I started telling myself like, all right, you're going to do 100 steps and then you take a break. 100 steps, like going hard, and then you take a break. So I tried that 100 steps going hard, take a break. And these people would still be like creeping in front of me. Like, and I'd be like, man, how the fuck are they still like getting ahead of me? And so then like, as you get higher and more tired, it turns into like 50 steps and I'll take a break. You know what I mean? And then it turns into like, all right, I got 25 steps.
It's a little mental challenge.
Take a break, you know? But so that whole time, like I'm going back and forth with these people, like they'll get ahead, I'll get ahead, they'll get ahead, I'll get ahead. And so then this is what I learned though. So I started just, instead of running hardcore, like giving it all that I had and taking breaks, and even like doing the 25 steps or 50 steps or 100 steps or whatever, take a break. What I started doing was I started taking each step super fucking slow, but not ever stopping. So I would do, instead of like taking like a full step or like two steps, or a full step, I would do like 1 foot up on a step, same foot up on a step. 1 foot up on a step, same foot up on a step. 1 foot up on a step, same foot up on a step. And, you know, honestly, like I was kind of like, the steps were really tight at that point. So I'm kind of like stepping sideways, you know? So it's like 1 foot up, 1 foot up, 1 foot up, 1 foot up. And it's really slow. Like the whole time I'm basically like just looking down at my feet and just gasping for air. And, I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. You know what I mean? Just slow and steady wins the race, right? I'm just going, but I wasn't stopping. And all of a sudden I look back, and all those people that I've been battling with, like they're in front, I'm in front, they're in front, I'm in front this whole way up, I'm way ahead of them. Like there is a big, like they're kind of like a speck down on the mountain now. And it's crazy to me. Like I realize like that it really is, the slow and steady wins the race really does work, you know?
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it sounds dumb, but it was kind of like a pivotal point for that day in my life. Cause I realized like I run head on at everything, and sometimes that's not the answer. Like maybe I'll get ahead a little bit here, but in the long grand scheme of things, am I really ahead in life the whole way, like over the whole spectrum? And so I might run ahead and get ahead here, but then like I'll pause and take this break because it's not sustainable. And then these other people that are just moving the whole time might pass me up. You know what I mean? So I learned that lesson. I think that's a really valuable lesson. I actually talked to my son about it too. But before I got to that point where I started going slow and steady wins the race and finished the rest of the mountain ahead of everybody else, there was a point where it was shortly after that bailout mark, right? And I'm bantering with these people up and down, and we're kind of joking about how hard it is, and you know nobody expected it to be that hard. And I'm going up the mountain and you know gasping for air, and you know we're joking about it. And here comes down this guy, Travis.
Strong, right?
Yeah, Travis Strong. Yep, Travis McCody Strong. And so we tried to have Travis on the podcast. It was actually one of the ones that didn't work out. Then we tried to have him back on the following week, and it didn't work out. I still want to have Travis on the podcast. It just hasn't worked out yet in this time frame. But yeah, Travis Strong, shout out to Travis Strong. But he is a Army veteran that lost his legs in active duty. And I didn't even know it, but this guy was going up and down the mountain that day as a challenge for his brother, his fallen brothers in the military. And he's doing it with no legs. I mean, he had a weighted vest on. I can't remember exactly how heavy it was.
I thought he said 40 pounds.
Yeah, but this dude is a beast. I mean, he was coming down at the time I was going up. But this gal I was talking to back and forth was like, "Oh, you can't complain now." And I was like, "Yeah, I can. Watch me." And I didn't even see him yet. And I look up, and here comes this guy down on it, just on his hands. I mean, no legs, all the way on his hands, coming down the mountain with gloves on. And I'm like, "Oh shit, nope. Yeah, I can't complain. Nope, definitely not." And I stopped and talked to him, and I was like, "Man, that's awesome. You know, you're an inspiration." And there was a lot of people there doing it with him that day. Go follow him, Travis Strong. He's a great inspiration. He does stuff like this all the time. He does, I can't remember what it was. He did like a 100-mile bike ride. He did, a march. He does all kinds of crazy shit with no legs, and it is just crazy inspirational. And so that was another thing to where I was like, all right, definitely got to make it now. Like, I don't care what it takes. If this guy can do it, like I have to be able to make this, And so we made it. And it was a great day, great life lessons, and beautiful view from the top. And the whole way down, like you would think, I get up to the top, me and my son are kind of celebrating. We made it, enjoying the views, and we start going down. And you would think going down is way easier, and going down was faster, but it's not easier. Like, you just climbed a mile worth of steps, and then you got to go down the steps. Like, there's a way that you can go down and take the hill down, but I guess it's like 4 times as long to take the path down, or you can just walk the steps down. And I was like, fuck, I'm not taking the path. We'll just walk the steps down. But you talk about like shaky legs, man. Every single step down was like a shake.
Dude, I bet I'd be willing to bet that you just not taking the that false peak, taking like the sissy route or whatever, the halfway mark, taking that out, just seeing your son be like, all right, he's looking up at you,
right?
And you're like, he's not going to be the one to be like, all right, are we good here? Like, have we done enough? And you're like, let's press on.
Yep.
I bet that alone sticks with him for a long time.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure. It was a great experience. It really was. And it was a great trip. And the next day we went mountain biking. So we got some rest. And then the next day and this is all while doing 75 hard. I did 75 hard through this whole trip. But the next day we went mountain biking and I don't even know how many miles we rode. We mountain biked for hours. It was a blast though, man. It was a great trip.
Sounds like you guys are being active too, which I know a lot of people have trouble with, coming up with ideas they want to get their kid out of the house, but they're like, all right, movie theater or picnic or something else revolving around food, dinner.
Yeah.
And you guys are going up the incline. You're doing these bike rides. I mean, what are some other things you did or you typically take Braden to do?
Man, I'm always trying to be active. So I don't know, really anything outside. He's got football, so I don't try to press him too much. If he has practice at night, I'm not going to make him like go on a bike ride with me or something like that. But yeah, I mean, just be outside, man. Kids don't need to be sitting on their phone 24/7 or on the Xbox 24/7. I think back to like our childhoods, right? When we were kids, I played out in the street. I ran, this was, I grew up in a small town, before I moved to Omaha. So this is Weeping Water, Nebraska. But we would run the whole town, me and all my cousins and family members all lived there and the same area, or they would at least be there visiting. And, we would run around, play in the creek, probably do things that we probably should have had a little bit more supervision and probably shouldn't have been doing, but we were out having fun. We were out being kids. We were playing tag. We were playing hide and go seek. We went home when the lights came on. When the street lights come on, you go home. Or I had my Aunt Debbie would whistle. And God, she would do like one of those whistles with the 2 fingers. In the mouth. I can't do it.
That was badass.
But you would hear her for blocks. Like if you heard Debbie whistle, it was like, oh shit, all right, we better get heading back, And that's how childhood should be. Kids are way too active on social media, TikTok, their phones, their Xbox, all that shit. But this goes into the topic that we talked about on the podcast that got scrapped is and this works perfectly with it, is how your children view you from their eyes. So how are you seen in your child's eyes, And so we had a story, this has been a few weeks back now, but I'm going to retell it, that we tried talking about on the podcast that got scrapped. But there was this time where, a few weeks back where, my son's in football, I'm working, our schedules are super busy. I'm doing 75 hard. So I have 2 workouts a day. One has to be outside on top of my work schedule, which was already crazy busy. And then add on top of that, he's got football, which is an hour and a half to 2 hours most nights. And so it's just a grind. A lot of days are just go, go, go. It's like I work, I do my workouts whenever I can. I pick him up from school. I go back to the house. My office is in my house. So he sits around until football and plays, or, he'll go out and play with the dogs or ride his bike. And I'm in the office getting more work done. Drop him off at football. I get both my workouts done if I can during his football practice. Come home, and we have this little amount of time after football. We're talking like 6 to 7:30 is their football. So we come home usually get home around like 7:45, 8 o'clock, have an hour. We both have to shower. I've still got to get my dinner. He's got to eat something else. He always eats before football, but he's got to have a snack after football. And his bedtime's 9 o'clock, So it's like, it's a lot to fit in on that hour window. And so there was a night where I'm getting him ready for bed, and it was very much like rush, go, go, go that day, getting everything done. He's got responsibilities, I have responsibilities. And there was a night getting him ready for bed where I kind of felt that. I felt that it was not a very fun day, a very structured rush day. And so I wanted to bring some enthusiasm in before bed. And so I was kind of hyping him up, and this is his first year playing football. A lot of the kids on the team have played football for years, so he's not as experienced. And so I'm trying to give him confidence too. So I was just talking about his practice. Man, you did great on your practice. I saw you do this, that, and that. And, I'm really proud of you. And he looked at me and he was like, he said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but basically said something to the effect of, "Nice to see you excited." And I was like, huh? And he kind of said it like out of the side of his mouth. I kind of picked up on it and kind of didn't. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, nice to see you excited. You're always just busy and grumpy anymore. That's pretty much what he said. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. All right. And so I had to digest that and think about it. And I was like, man, you're right. We've been so busy with everything that I have just been busy and grumpy and probably like cold and not very happy, not very excited, because I'm a very structured person, and I'm very I'll get tunnel vision, very on the goal mindset, oriented. So it's very easy for me to be like, all right, we got this to do. Boom, 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 boom. This is what we're doing. And sometimes I lose the sight of he is still a kid.
Dude, let's hit pause on that for just a second, because how many guys can relate? They wake up, they're stuck in traffic for 20, 30 minutes on their way to work. They go to an office they're stuck in all day, surrounded by people that they're tired of hearing from, like just stress, boss coming down on them, stresses of work. And by the time they get home and see their kids for like probably the first time, if not the second time after a very short time in the morning, they're just like beat. They're stressed out. They're beat down. They might want to pour a drink. They might just want to kick their feet up on the couch, watch football. And that's all that's all their kids see from dad is like, oh, dad's grumpy again. Dad's mad again. Like, how many guys can relate to that?
Dude, I'm sure it happens to I'm sure it happens to everybody at some point.
Yeah.
And so that's, my son bringing that up to me was a gift, because it allows you, and it's like I said, it's very easy to get into that tunnel vision. I think it's very easy for everybody to get in that tunnel vision. And so that was a gift that my son gave me, to be able to step out of myself and process it and look at it and say, I mean, that was him telling me how he saw me through his eyes at that point in our lives. You know what I mean?
It's like a little reality check for you.
Yeah. And so that's not how I want to be seen, So we had to talk about how we're going to restructure our nights. And we had some rough nights. I tried a few different things that didn't work. A few different things that didn't work.
Like what?
Up front. And then we had to just keep messing with it until we got it down to where a system that worked for us. So one of the deals is he's got, on football nights, and this is not every night, but on football nights, he's got an hour and a half to 2 hour long practice, depending on the night. And he also has chores and things that he has to do. You know, he gets an allowance. He's got stuff he has to do around the house. He's got to give the dogs food and water, do the dishes, keep his room clean.
Homework?
He's got homework. Yeah, stuff like that. So we had another night where, and this was kind of in the same time frame, where basically, you know, I pick him up from school at 3:00. He gets home around 3:30. We leave for football around 5:30. So he's got 2-hour window there, and then we have an hour at home before bedtime after football, and that's pretty much it. And that hour after football is, you know, shower's got to be in part of it. It's already kind of preoccupied. And so we had a day where he came home from school, and I was super busy that day. I just jumped right back in the office, and he spent the 2 hours after school before football just playing. And I thought in my mind, you know, whatever, I know he's got stuff to do, but just let him be a kid, you know, let him have his time, you know, let him play. And I was too preoccupied with what I had to do to where I was like, he's busy. He's not bothering me. Let me get my work done. And so what happened that night is after football, he had to do all of his stuff in that hour, along with shower, eat, everything. And it's too much for 1 hour. And so that night, he actually he started getting upset and started talking back, and, you know, I could tell he was just upset about something. So I told him to go to his room, go cool off. Oh, he's supposed to read 20 minutes of a book every night for school. And so he did all of his other stuff, and I was like, all right, bud, now you got to read your book. And he threw a fit, didn't want to read his book, started like getting teary eyed. And I was like, and I'm stressed to the max too. I'm still got a million things I have to do. I was like, all right, Braden, just go take some time. Go in your room, you know, go cool off. So I let him go in his room. I go in there. He's crying, you know, after I give him some time, he's crying. I said, all right, bud, let's come out. Let's talk. And so he comes out in the living room. I sat down. He's still crying. And I said, what's going on? And he says, I'm just too busy all the time. I can't have fun. I never have time to play. And, you know, I'm just too much to do. And like, I can relate to that, right? Can you?
Yeah.
You know, and I think everybody probably can. But the difference is like, I'm 31, almost 32, and he's 9, almost 10. You know what I mean? And so I had to explain to, you know, he was like, I wanted to come home after football and play Fortnite with my friends and all. You know, my friends always ask me to play Fortnite online, and I never have time. I can never play with them because we're always too busy and all this stuff. And I've always got, you know, too many chores to do and all this stuff. And so I felt bad, you know. And so this is where, like, I had to sit down and explain to him that, like, listen, man, you have stuff that you have to do. When you decide that you want to play football, that's a responsibility. I know you're only 9 or 10, but when you decide that you want to play football, that's a responsibility that you're taking. And that's something that you have to, it's a responsibility, and you have to own up to it. You know, we take care of our responsibilities. You have other things you have to do every night. What I told him is where Dad fell short is that I wasn't guiding you. I should have had you do a lot of this stuff after school in that 2-hour window and not save it all for the hour. You know, that's where I fell short. And I also had to explain to him that, like, football is part of your fun, man. Like, when you decide to play football and you have an hour and a half practice at night, that's part of your fun for the day. You can't expect to take an hour and a half after school to go play football with your friends, even though it is work, and still have like 2 hours to play outside or play Fortnite or whatever. You know, when you choose to do this sport, that's going to preoccupy some of your time for that night. And the way he was looking at football was work, you know? And so I kind of had to frame it to him differently, to like, hey, do you have friends on your team that you play football with and that you have practice with? Well, yeah. Do you have fun when you play football and have practice? Sometimes. I'm like, all right, well, you need to look at it differently. Like, kind of change your mindset, buddy, because you can't look at it as just work, something to do. You need to look at that as like, all right, this is my hour and a half tonight to release. I'm out there. You know, it's like us going to the gym. You know, we're out there letting stress go. You know, we're building endorphins. He's playing football with his friends. You know, so we had to have that talk, and so we structured it differently from there on out to where, basically, when he gets off of school, he does all of his chores, all of his stuff, and that 2-hour window usually only takes like 30 minutes to an hour. So he still has like an hour to play before football. And then that hour after football, he can shower, get his reading in, have a snack, and it's way more leisure and a lot easier to deal with. So that was kind of my experience, our experience, in the way that we had to handle it and deal with things. And but this goes to anybody, and it really does speak volumes to. I just challenge you to think about how your child sees you through their eyes.
Dude, last week I was out in the front yard. I had a Moscow Mule. Me and Amy were both drinking them. I had a Stog. We're just outside because we didn't want to be in front of the TV with Kennedy.
Yeah.
So we're out in the front yard, and I'm like hitting the Stog, blowing the smoke out, and I see Kennedy just like staring at me. I'm like, oh no, she's definitely picking up on this. So then she goes and gets the lighter that I lit it with. It's one of those bigger ones that you like light the grill with.
Yeah.
And she's just like put it in her mouth and
oh my God,
like a cigar. And I trying to blow out. She's I was like, oh my God, dude, I can't do anything without this girl picking it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not to say I'm like not going to have cigars or anything like that, but you do. It's so crazy. You really realize how much they are always watching you.
Yep.
I'll just catch her. She's just always like, what's he doing? Like, she's still new to this world. She's seeing what people are all about, what people do, what's normal. And I mean, she's probably already like, I don't want to say building habits, but she's definitely seeing what mom and dad do. And that's in her head now. That's normal. So it's just crazy, man. I have to constantly be aware of, all right, what is she? Especially when I look down at her and she's looking up at me like, okay, what's he doing now? It's like, okay, what am I doing now? It's just like you said. Sometimes you get caught up in it's just normal. Go outside, have a Stog, have a drink, say hi to the neighbors, just look up, watch for airplanes, point them out to the daughter. But to her, she's like, all right, well, what's he drinking? Why is he blowing smoke out of his mouth? Just constantly asking herself these questions. You just got to be aware of it.
I don't think people realize the effect that they have on their children and how much we shape their lives. Like, I know for me, I'm like my son's God. You know what I mean? Like, he looks up to me more than he looks up to anybody else. So I think of like, you know, me as an adult, I have different things that shape my perspectives, right? Like, I keep a good circle of friends around me. I keep people that are have what I want, are doing better than me, or achievers, you know, around me in my circle that can help drive me forward. You know, I see them doing well and I want to do well. I listen to podcasts that broaden my spectrum, you know, challenge me. I'm always surrounding myself with things that help me grow, but those are things that I choose. And for my child, you know, he's at school, he's around friends. I guess not in the summertime he wasn't, but the majority of his growth and the way that he sees things and the way that he sees life and what he's going to believe is true in life is coming from me, you know? And so do I want my son to sit there and think that life is all work and no play? You know, I can easily, like, I find myself very frequently getting, I'm good at staying busy. You know, I can grind through things. I'm a hard worker. Doesn't mean that I like it. You know, I'd much rather be like, have all the money in the world and hit the lottery and not have to worry about it and sit on the beach. I'd still have to work and do something just because that's who I am. But it doesn't mean that what I'm saying is if I spend all my time just working and that's all my son sees is that, okay, all dad does is grind. All dad does is care about his work. Then that's going to press onto him. And
I see that could go two ways, because you see people have their kids are either identical to him or they're polar opposites.
Yeah.
So he could take that and be like, all right, well, I want to be like my dad, so I'm going to work. If I do start a family, I'm going to neglect him. Not saying that's you, but if he took that to the extreme, like, no, work's the priority, everything else is second fiddle. Or he could be the opposite and be like, man, my dad was always busy. I'm not going to do that. Like, he always wanted to work. And he could be like someone we know who's sleeping until 10, 11 a.m., works on the back burner, and then he's not providing for his family because he is straying so away from being like that in his head, he thinks work's evil. That's the enemy. So ideally, we were talking before this podcast is balance, and that's what you're always
That's
striving
what I was
back
just
to.
going to bring up. Yep.
Yeah, if you can teach that to them, you're not going to have to worry about it.
There's nothing wrong with working hard, but what I try to do is like, I'm very cognizant of what's going on, and I can see things, which is good. You know, that's like being able to see that this was happening in our life and things were too busy, and restructuring our days to work out better for us. That's a win for me. That's growing. But you know, we had talked about this in the last podcast that got scrapped, and I'm just remembering this moment and trying to, it was a valid point, is that like, that might come back on you tenfold. I don't know if you remember when we talked about that last.
Yeah, the cat's in the cradle.
Yeah. So if all you do is work to your child, and then you bestow that on them, and they see their highest priority or their strongest value is just working, then say you get a little bit older and you realize, fuck, life isn't all just about working. Maybe I need to, you know, spend a little bit more time relaxing. Maybe I need to take a little bit more vacations. Maybe I need to spend a little bit more time on myself.
So you retire.
Yeah.
Now you have all this free time.
Right.
And you're like, you get bored hanging out
and
with
then you
yourself.
want your kid to come on these vacations with you and do these things with you and go here with you and experience life with you. And you're at this point, you know, you're retired. You're sitting there thinking like, how the clock's ticking. How much more time do I have? I want to spend it with my son, who I love. And then your son turns around and says, sorry, Dad, I'm busy. I'm working. I got this going on. I got that going on. I can't make it. You know, then that really is like, oh, fuck, that's full circle, right? Because that's what you did to him as a kid. And then now he's doing that to you as an adult. And I don't ever want that to happen. Well, what I try to project, like, there's nothing wrong with working hard, man. What I try to do is work hard, play hard. So I try to take every weekend off. We try to at least go to our cabin, ride dirt bikes, have fun, go four-wheeling on the weekends. And I really do hope that I'm instilling that in him. Like, the way I see it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but the way I see it is like, during the week, that's my grind. I'm going to grind my ass off. That doesn't mean I can't have fun during the week too, or grab dinner or play ball with my son. You know, if those are priorities, you make time for those things. But during the week is more structured for me to be business oriented, successful with whatever I'm doing in life to make money or whatever my passion is. And then the weekend is more like my go out, fuck off, you know, play hard family time. And so I hope that that's what I'm pushing forward onto my child.
Yeah. I think everyone wants to make money, man. And a lot of people don't think about, this is funny. So this actually just happened to me. This could be its own very, very own podcast, but I had a recent opportunity present itself last week with my very first business coach ever. And basically what he's trying to do is not exit his company, but basically have someone else run it, kind of like you have John do.
Right.
So he can have some more free time. Now, I'm in this guy's Facebook group, so I can constantly see he's like reviewing people's sales calls. He's checking people's homework. He's holding group calls. He's like, you can search his name in his group, and like every 15 minutes for a 10-hour day, he's doing something. Mm-hmm. So basically this opportunity was like, he and I got on a call, and he's like, well, what do you want? Like, what do you want out of life? Basically. And I was like, man, I ask myself that constantly. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know there's certain check boxes I want to hit, but if you're really like peeling the onion, I don't really know what the number one thing is, or
what's the end game?
Yeah. What's the end game? So he's like, well, take a week, take 2 weeks, think about it, because like I said, he wants me to take over those responsibilities and basically, I mean, write my own check at that point. So it's exciting stuff.
Nice.
But I mean, and when we were on our initial call, I was really excited about it. I was like, man.
You'd be taking over his group on top of your stuff?
But, I mean, the way my stuff's set up is like, I have a team, so it's not all on me. Whereas the way his is set up, it's a lot of it's on him. He has a team helping him out here and there, but still it's like the majority him, which is the role I'd be stepping into. So I took like last week, I was thinking about it, I got some books on the subject, like Finding Your Purpose, What's Your Why, stuff like that.
The Purpose-Driven Life is I don't know if you've read that yet.
I haven't yet.
Caleb Moran has me reading that right now, but it is a very good book if you're looking for purpose. The Purpose-Driven Life.
I'll check that out for sure, because I am. But it was last week, I know I took Amy out. We got brunch like in the middle of the day. She didn't have anything going. I had a couple sales calls canceled. So I was like, oh, let's go get some brunch. We'll have some mimosas, just kind of, kick it a little bit. And then like the next day we picked Kennedy up from school early. We took her to the splash pad, just had a good time there. And it hit me like, I'm making okay money right now. I could take on all these things and just keep adding water into that bucket and then just totally drain my free time bucket. Mm-hmm. But that's not like, you start to realize once you start doing okay financially, it's like, okay, you can always make more money. You never get that time back.
Exactly.
So ideally, like
quality of life, dude.
That alone, it was like, okay, well, do I just want to make a bunch of money or do I want to be comfortable and also have a lot of free time I can spend with my family, my wife, our daughter, any kids coming down the road, like back to balance. Like what's all this money in the bank if dad's
you can't enjoy it,
locked in his office 12 hours a day? Mm-hmm. So it was kind of crazy because when we were first on the call, I was like, man, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. But then I took a couple days and I was like, all right, well, what do I want? Being at brunch with my wife, this is awesome. Being at the splash pad with my daughter, this is awesome. This is what life's all about. So, seeing the number rise in the bank, it's not going to be very exciting for very long, mm-hmm. especially when you look out the window and you see your wife and daughter playing in the yard, throwing the Frisbee to your dog, and you're locked away working. It's like, no. So that was pretty groundbreaking for me.
Dude, I think like what's so cool about what you have going, though, is that you can make money and you can expand and still have that free time. And that's what my business lacks, is that I have to be so involved in it. My business in the service industry is so hands-on. Yours is online, mine's service industry. I don't have that freedom. Like I do have John. I have guys that help me. Could I hire some more guys? Yes. But it's just, I've been doing this like 11 years now, 12 years. I don't know, a long time. And it's like every time I think I have guys set up or a plan set up, like this happens, that happens. There's always something that happens that involves me to dive back in. Or like I'll have these guys running these things and I think everything's going great. And then all of a sudden realize that this wasn't going the way that it was supposed to. This wasn't going the way that it was supposed to. And I have to take power back and I have to dive in. You know what I mean? So the nice thing that you have is that you do have a career set up or a business model set up to where you can have more free time and still make great fucking money. And I think that's what everybody really wants. You know what I mean? You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the time to enjoy it or the people to enjoy it with, money by yourself is pointless. Like,
yeah, it really is.
You could win the fucking lottery, buy your own island.
Especially when you can't travel like we were just talking about. It's like, it literally is just a number.
Think about this though. Even if you say you won the lottery and you bought your own island, but you were the only one that could be on the island. Like that's going to be the most fucking stupid, boring fucking island you'll ever have in your entire life. Like you're going to hate it. It would suck. But you could do the same fucking thing with like 10 people or a group of people or whatever and probably have a great time. You know what I mean? Like shit by yourself is no fun.
Right.
You got to have family. You got to have friends. You got to have people to enjoy things with. You got to have time to experience life. And that is stuff that you never get back.
And just to come full circle, if Kennedy's looking at me, always working away, like she doesn't care if you make good money to a certain point. If she can have a bike to ride and like she has her bare essentials and things, like you don't want to spoil them rotten anyway. It's not like you're going to buy her a pony. So what she wants is time with dad.
Yep.
And if you don't have that, then you don't have anything, in my opinion.
Yep.
I'd say even more so than money. If I had to pick one, it's like, all right, well, do you want to make awesome money and have absolutely no time with your family? Or do you want to have tons of quality time with your family and money's always a struggle? Obviously, neither one's ideal. Finances are always like the number one cause of stress, but time with your family.
Yeah. Or do you want to have like work take the majority of your priority to where your wife's cheating on you?
Yeah.
You know, like that's fun. everything always comes back to balance, man. And I feel like that's what life is continually about. That's what it's about for me. That's what I'm continually working on is balance. Do I want to make money? Absolutely. Who the fuck doesn't want to make money? Do I want to have freedom that money gives, like being able to, i.e. being able to take trips and go out of the country and purchase things that I want? Absolutely. Who doesn't? But do I want only that, or do I need to have time to make memories with my son as well? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, when we're dying on our deathbeds, we're not going to sit there and say, man, I wish I would have made more money. You're dying on your deathbed. You're going to sit there and think about the time you spent with your kid. Did I throw the ball with him enough? When we had Caleb Moran on the podcast, we've had him on a few times, and he's my coach right now. But he talks about his son getting cancer and his son almost dying. Like it happened in a very short amount of time, and he's a workaholic too. I mean, he easily gets into this workaholic mindset like we do, and he was like, at that point in time, man, none of that shit mattered. None of it mattered. Didn't give a fuck how much money was in my bank account. Didn't care about the meeting. Didn't care about sending the email back. All that mattered was, how much time did I spend with my son? Did I make the time to throw the ball with him? Did I teach him, the things that I wish I would have been taught as a kid? Did I make him a priority in my life? And so I think about like if I were to be told you have 24 hours to live or you have 48 hours to live, am I going to be working in those 24 or 48 hours, or am I going to be taking that 24 and 48 hours to spend with my family and my son? You know what I mean? And that's obviously an unrealistic thing. You have to work, you know what I mean? But it just shows you where your priorities should be, because I'm going to take that 24 hours to spend it with my fucking family. And so if that's where my priorities are, then that should take priority over working 24/7 and making as much money as I possibly can.
I would think the big takeaway from this podcast is when you come home from work today and you had a hard day, boss was up your ass about some trivial shit that really doesn't matter, and then you come home, you want to grab a beer or pour a drink or smoke a J in the garage, just go.
These are all Joel scenarios.
Go in.
This is what Joel wants to do every night when he comes home.
Go in, kick your feet up and just start watching football. Just take a couple second bird's eye view, or imagine you're a fly on the wall, how your kids are looking at you, and be like, this is all they see. So do you want to get on the floor, play with them, go out in the backyard, throw the ball around, give them some time, show them the real you? Or do you want them to see like the stressed out, burnt, beat to the ground dad that maybe they're seeing more often than you even think they are?
I agree, man. I think we'll leave it at that. I think that's a good place to leave it. So thanks for tuning into the Dads Who Lift podcast. If you guys got anything from this podcast, please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We do this stuff for free. We need your support to continue doing it. So please give it us a share. Tell a friend about it. Just tell one friend. If you can tell one friend about it, that'll help us out substantially. We're on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes. All the platforms are all on our website, www.dadswholiftofficial.com. We also have apparel on the website. Again, that's www.dadswholiftofficial.com. We're on IG as Dads Who Lift Official. We are on Facebook as Dads Who Lift Podcast, and we are on... we have a Facebook group with 30,000 plus dads, like-minded dads just trying to be their best selves, best fathers, and stay fit at the same time. That's called Dads Who Lift Official as well. If that's something you're interested in, please check that group out. But yeah, like I said, thanks for tuning in, guys, and please give us a like, share, and 5-star review. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
No surrender, it's forever. This right here forever. I ain't bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive, dead than alive. Yeah, I ain't bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive.